Good afternoon. Yes, we're going to talk about relationships. Let's talk about relationships. So, but these are going to be digital, kind of commercial relationships, perhaps not like relationships some of us are looking for. Anyway, so I'm going to start with letting these ladies talk about their companies and how they fit into the relationship world. Sarah, why don't you start?
Sure. My name's Sarah Varney. I'm the CMO at a company called Twilio. Twilio is a customer engagement platform. We deliver a series of APIs to empower developers, product managers, to create virtually any customer experience within their applications. You are probably using a Twilio product behind the scenes today and may not even know. So many of the largest ride-sharing companies in the world use Twilio to connect their riders and drivers. If you are using any of the on-demand physician apps where you can connect directly with a physician via video, that's normally a Twilio API behind the scenes. And there's a number of different use cases across the board that we power. We have 7 million developers worldwide in 150 countries, and that's Twilio.
So we're already being enriched by it. We didn't even know it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Mata, talk about your what you guys do.
So Branch is a mobile growth platform. We help mobile apps and mobile brands give their customers a seamless experience across web and app and multiple channels and take them to the right content, and also measure the entire user journey. So you might have a user, one of you might go on someone's website and then you go and download the app. We actually help them tie this identity and understand your entire journey across web and app. So in many of you, I think probably everyone in this room has clicked on a Branch link. You probably don't know it's a Branch link. Everyone white labels us, but we have customers like Adobe, Nike, Uber, Amazon, Twitter. They all use us. And we are actually a Twilio customer.
Oh,
so if you go on a website and you text yourself the app, we power that through the link, but behind that, the text gets sent through Twilio. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's about the links, but also tracking where people go, the customers go.
Yeah, because when you click on a link on mobile, where should you be taken? Do you have the app? Should the app open to the promotion you just got? Should you be taken to a website? We help companies actually set up all that routing and then track the entire user journey. The only way you can understand the user's journey is through understanding the links and actually taking people to the right content.
So we want to talk about relationships, but why do we even want these relationships? If you're a company, Sarah, what's so important about connecting in the way we're talking about here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty plain and simple. It's important to build digital relationships because that's where your customers are today. And it's pretty incredible if you think about how much people are exposed to brands. The average consumer is exposed to over 10,000 brands a day. And the average millennial picks up their smartphone over 4,000 times. I actually think I probably fall more in that category than you think. But being inundated and being in this age of information overload, it's really critical as a brand that's trying to reach your consumer. You are hyper-focused on being relevant and personalized and delivering that right message to the right person at the exact right time.
Mm-hmm. And talk a little bit about this from the mobile world. Why does the company and mobile app user need to connect? It's
funny, I think I've done this talk before where I was talking about the mobile ecosystem, and I compared it to Game of Thrones and Westeros. So it's like you have these big brands, and they really are like empires. So we have Facebook, WeChat, Snapchat, Google, and all they want is to actually own the user's time, and they want to be the platform. Apple wants to be the platform, Android wants to be the platform, and they're very greedy. They are forcing everyone to build on top of their platforms, and they're not giving you any, go and build a WeChat mini program, but you don't actually get access to the user's data. You depend fully on us. Facebook, it's like making really hard to link outside of the Facebook app. So in the world of these giants, if you're a brand and you're trying to survive, obviously you would depend on them. But at the end of the day, if you build your entire business on top of one of these giants, they can mess you up. One day they'll shut down an API and you'll be dead. So the idea is you need to build your own fortress and then use all these different channels to bring people back into your fortress. And for many companies, it's the app. The app is if you look at everything in the industry, when someone engages with your app, they are more likely to buy, more likely to engage. It's kind of like when you're dating, getting someone to download your app is like going steady. There is an intimacy of relationship with someone. So the advice I always give brands is have your own things that you own, have your own website, have your own app, and then bring people to your own fortress. Take advantage of the giants that might like give you free promotion because they're trying to grow their platforms. But always, always find a way that you can take people from the giant platform into something that you own, or you own 90%, even an app is built on top of the Apple
So you guys are like a
platform.
dragon that helps break down those other fortresses
Yeah, I
and help
love
you build
dragons.
No,
I was very sad about Game of Thrones and what happened.
There you
Yes,
go.
we try to be the dragons that bring people back to our fortress.
The dragon and the fortress. We'll keep continuing this metaphor. So now let's talk about the mechanisms for reaching people. And in Twilio's case, a lot of it is SMS, it's text. So talk a little bit about the scenarios in which you are now helping customers communicate and where you want to go with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it really all comes to context and what people expect to do on a particular channel. We all use different channels, and they're very nuanced too, as we've seen more in channels, grow and take on new lives. I think when we've polled our customer base, you'd be surprised to hear that email is still, in very many scenarios, a preferred channel. A recent survey that we ran with our customers and outside of our base said that 84% of customers actually do want to communicate with businesses over email. But for more time-sensitive issues and things where someone needs something immediately, text shoots through the roof. So you can think about if you're trying to get account verification code, you're going to much more likely want to consume that over text. It's going to be right in your lock screen or right in your alerts, and you can consume that code and move on and go on to the races. So we see that in our base constantly where people need that instant verification. They need to know that their driver's on the curb right there. And it all comes down to the context of what that consumer or that brand's trying to do.
Mm-hmm. And talk about the mechanisms, please, Mata, from your standpoint.
Sorry.
The mechanisms for really reaching out and engaging.
Yeah, it's really interesting because you would think that in mobile it's all push notifications, and I run these meetups, these mobile growth meetups. We do them all over the world, and I always bring people from mobile apps and ask them, what's the best way to engage with your customers? And you know what they say? In many cases, they say email. So I think it's really interesting that in many cases, people don't like to always get a ton of push notifications. So the way to engage with the customer needs to basically be dependent on your relationship with the customer. And I really like this dating analogy. When you're at the beginning of your dating relationship and you ask someone to go home with you, it might not go so well. So if you start sending them push notifications and they don't really understand your app well, and you're like, oh, buy these 5 things, of course they'll probably delete your app. So you need to start kind of slow. And email is a very safe one where people don't feel invaded. Yeah. And it's important to actually do everything, but at the right time. There comes a time when you are in a relationship with the customer and they engage enough that you can start sending them push. You can start sending them text. But that's probably something you don't want to do earlier on. So my biggest advice is to really think about the level of engagement and when you engage users. Yeah. We have this product that helps you take people from web to app. And what we've seen is that if people show the same banner to everyone all the time, versus if they customize it, at the beginning they don't show a banner, and then they show a bigger banner depending on how engaged they are, it actually increases the view to install ratio 10 times, just personalizing and giving the right type of experience to the user and the right type of engagement.
So Sarah, we were talking, you talked a little bit about more like two-way communication, and you gave sort of an airline scenario. Lay that out for us.
Sure. I mean, I always say there's nothing less engaging than getting an email that's with the sender is do not reply. Yeah, that's
I have gotten those.
That's the fortress seems very closed off in that situation. And so, we think the same kind of thinking and logic applies to SMS. When you get a notification from an airline that says that there's a gate change, what if there was a world where you could respond and say, hey, actually, I'm having XYZ issue. Can you contact me to customer service? And increasingly, we're hearing from our customer base that they want to engage with their customers in these types of ways. We have a major U.S. bank we're working with right now who is trying to orchestrate group conversations between advisors and agents in the back office, as well as a client and maybe some of their family members who also need to weigh in on particular financial decisions. And now using Twilio and our Conversations API, they can have these conversations in a secure and compliant way, and it's a much more pleasant way of doing business.
You guys are making the world better. If I could live in the world that you guys are building, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I like your analogy of, say, you're running to the gate and you text them and saying, look, I'm 30 seconds away, don't close the gate of the airplane. Or maybe I left my laptop on the airplane, don't close it up, or some of those,
absolutely.
some of those things, those things where you actually need to engage with an actual human being in real time.
Yeah, I mean, I personally learned that lesson the hard way this year. I left my laptop on a plane, and once you get past security, you're never getting it back. And so, you call an airline these days, and they're, even in that kind of situation, which seems pretty dire, their response often is fill out a form. And, we just think that there's a better way to do business.
Right. So, assuming you've established some of these relationships, what are some of the key metrics and insights from those that people gain? Well, let me start with you this time, Mara.
Yeah, I think obviously one is how happy your customers are, right? How engaged they are, what's your NPS score. At Branch is something that we measure. We are obviously a B2B company, but we also, I think we also empower these relationships with our customers. And we look, our customers, when you actually keep context, when you give someone a better experience, when you build a better relationship, what they look at is, engagement in the app, how much people engage, how much people purchase in the app. And that's one of the ways that they measure happiness, right? Like sometimes in a B2B company, it's a lot easier for us to survey all our customers and get the NPS. With the customer app, not everyone fills in surveys. So at the end of the day, the best way for them to know if things are working is like, are people returning to my app? Yeah. What's the 30-day, the 7-day, the 30-day, the 60-day, the 90-day retention rate? Like, are people coming back over and over? And that's a way that they're actually measuring their relationship in the consumer world.
And what are some of the signs of discontent with the app?
You'd be surprised. I've looked at these numbers for apps. How many, like the return rate at 30 days for apps today is actually pretty low. People deleting your apps. It can be people unsubscribing, people giving you bad reviews. I remember in the early days before Branch, we built an app and so for all of you who are early stage, I used to go and find everyone who gave us less than 5 stars on the Apple Store and try to find who they are by finding their ID and emailing them and trying to understand.
You didn't go to their houses, did you?
I didn't, but some of them, we had their addresses because we were shipping photo books. So we did one year send them all like Christmas cards, which some people thought it was creepy.
Yeah.
But we were very early stage and we didn't know what we were doing. Some people loved it. We definitely use their information to send them cards. Don't do that.
Sarah, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the holy grail in our world is how you can orchestrate across all these different channels. I love your analogy of the fortress, and it's enough work to get, especially in the communication space for SMS and voice, getting those products stood up in every country and able to scale for any business is a job in and of itself. And I think the next chapter is how do you orchestrate across all these different channels to really analyze what your customers are doing and drive as much efficiency as possible. And companies like what Mata's delivering, as well as a lot of the customer data platforms that you're seeing out there, help you say, all right, Joe customer, I see that he's engaging with SMS for this type of communication. Now I can dynamically always send that type of communication to Joe, and that's going to help drive metrics like customer NPS. And from a marketing perspective, that's going to absolutely have an impact on your conversion.
So any mistakes or pitfalls to avoid as you're trying to build relationship with customers? Anything that stands out from your experience that you did wrong that you wish you maybe hadn't done, Mara?
Yeah. I think the biggest
Besides
mistake,
visiting their houses.
well, I think that's actually an example of basically assuming the relationship is too closer than it is, right? Like abusing the customer relationship. I think that's something that customers, that brands do, and it can be very bad. So, like you got someone's email and you don't have that many emails and you start emailing them every day, or you start sending them a ton of push notifications, or you send them things when you shouldn't. Like that, I think, is one of the biggest pitfalls that I see. The other one, which is the opposite of that, is actually not understanding that this is your customer and not giving them a consistent experience. So, I am logged into this website, and like I go to a different website and I'm not logged in anymore, and I don't, you lost my context. Or I call a customer support and they take all my information and then they push me to another line where they ask me for the same information over and over and over again. That is like probably even worse than abusing, like not actually understanding that they have the information and making like the experience bad for me. I would say that those two are big ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, for any other pitfalls that you've observed or
I mean, I would
experienced?
absolutely agree with Mata on frequency. I think that that's one of the biggest complaints, or one of the things that we see our customers trying to solve, is hitting people too much. And also, I think it's about relevancy. Just making sure that you're delivering content that is going to be relevant, and not treating all channels the same. Not assuming that what you're sending over email can be sent over SMS or any other kind of campaign vehicles you're using. And it's a bit of marketing 101, but I think it's especially critical in the space we play in.
Yeah.
So for both of you, just I think we'll kind of wrap up here with sort of a what's next view. As you, Sarah, as you look out, what are you guys working on to try to improve your offering?
Yeah, I mean, I think anything that points to helping people deliver one-to-one relationships at scale, that's what Twilio is all about, and that's a lot of what you're going to see in the future. We're very much a developer-centric company. We're always listening to our developer community and hearing what they need the most, and building the products that are going to meet those needs.
Mm-hmm.
I think for us is we think about the mobile ecosystem as really flawed. The way discovery happens on the web is a lot more organic. People can find websites because of the content in those websites. In the mobile ecosystem, there's no way that the content within apps can be surfaced. So you're searching for an amazing piece of content, you don't find the best songs on Spotify. You just are supposed to download Spotify and then look inside it. So we're trying to solve that through links that take people into the app, and through other parts of that are actually trying to solve mobile discovery and the idea that you will discover content within apps, and that's what we think the future of mobile is.
So breaking through the fortresses when you need to.
Exactly, and being able to promote your little fortress better.
Yeah. Making it out of stone.
Making
and not
glass and I don't know, I'm going to sci-fi here.
Well, we have to wrap up. Thank you to Mata and Sarah.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thanks.